You know, that feeling, right? That sort of internal shrug when things are uncertain,
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's pretty much the core of Bahala Na, the Tagalog phrase.
Exactly. Come what may. And today we're diving into a group that really seems to live that idea. The Bahala Na Gang, or BNG.
Yeah, we've got some interesting material here, mainly drawn from the bahalanagang.pdf and its sources.
Okay.
Our plan is to really unpack how the BNG started in the Philippines and, follow its path, its spread, even to the U.S.
So the mission today, to get a handle on the BNG, what really kicked it off back in the 40s in the Philippines, how did it jump continents, and why is it still around?
All right. Let's start at the very beginning. Sampaloc, Manila, 1940s.
Okay.
The founder was Divino Talastas. But to understand Divino, you really need to know about his older brother, Imong.
Imong. Yeah, his story sounds pretty intense, like a fearsome fighter even as a young teen, 13, 14.
Absolutely. But it wasn't just fighting. He was actively targeting police officers.
Why? What drove that?
Well, the story goes he was arrested and reportedly tortured pretty brutally by the police, electrocution even, to get a confession.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when he got out, he became a serious threat to them. Killed several officers, apparently, but he died young. Shot dead by police at 15.
15. And Divino, his younger brother, saw this happen.
Witnessed it. Divino is much younger. You can imagine the impact. Profound.
Yeah, no kidding. So Imong's gone. There's a gap, right? A power vacuum.
Exactly. And another gang, the Sige gang, starts moving in, trying to take over.
It sounds like Manila had a serious gang problem back then.
It certainly seems that way, a lot of conflict. And this is the backdrop for Divino starting the Bahala Na Gang. It was a direct response to Sige.
And the name Bahala Na, where did that come from?
From a local night spot, actually. The Bahala Na Bar in Sampaloc, apparently a hangout for tough guys.
Interesting. And Divino himself, described as kind of unassuming, quiet, maybe 5'6".
Yeah.
Not what you'd picture.
Right. Soft-faced, even. But he built this reputation as a skilled fighter, could handle multiple people. That earned him respect in those circles.
So the first members, they weren't initially about big-time crime.
Not primarily, no. It seems the core group was loyal to Imong's memory. Their first goal was more like self-protection. Don't become a target yourself,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But that usually changes, doesn't it?
It did. The gang grew, and yeah, they branched out, got involved in various criminal activities.
And Divino spent time in prison, Iwahig prison.
So frequently, yes. And even inside, he was apparently a leader, like a mayor among the inmates, still commanding respect.
Seems like a consistent trait, but his end wasn't good, was it?
No, it was brutal. Early 80s, he was abducted, body found later in a sack in a river, signs of torture.
Awful. Any idea why?
The suspicion, according to the sources, was some kind of unfinished job for someone influential, a really grim end.
Okay, so let's move past the founding. Into the 60s, the BNG is getting established now.
Yeah, really digging in, not just on the streets, but inside the prison system, too. New Bilibid Prison, Bureau of Corrections. They were carving out territory.
And violence inside was common.
Seems so. The sources mention a specific incident, July 1961. A BNG member, Roberto Monreal, was murdered in Manila City Jail.
By rivals.
By other inmates, yeah, named attackers. That kind of thing probably just solidified their reputation, both as targets and for retaliation.
This is also when Arturo Fortuna comes in. Boy Golden.
Right. And his story's interesting because he didn't join BNG for power initially. It was apparently pure survival.
Just to make it through Manila City Jail in the 60s.
Exactly. It highlights how that environment could just force you into a gang. He became known for clashing with rivals, especially Sige.
The original rivals.
The very same. There's even a story of him surviving a beating by multiple Sige guys using makeshift weapons. He was tough.
It really sounds like that come what may attitude in action.
Yeah.
Just doing whatever it took.
Absolutely. Survival mode.
Yeah.
And around this time, we get a bit more insight from a researcher, Franklin G. Ashburn. He studied gangs in Manila City Jail.
What did he find about the BNG?
He noted how their name Bahala Na really reflected their outlook, that come what may vibe.
Did he see much structure?
Apparently not much formal organization. Loyalty was the big thing, maybe the only thing. He also used some strong language, described their orientation as almost psychopathic, mentioned thrill killings.
Psychopathic?
Yeah.
That's a heavy label.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair? Or maybe a product of the extreme circumstances?
That's a really good question. It's easy to label, harder to understand the context, but Ashburn reported extreme violence, sometimes seemingly random, not just against rivals.
Directed at anyone.
Potentially, yeah. And when he asked why, the answers often pointed to this deep sense of hopelessness, like life is hopeless, fate's against you, so nothing matters.
Wow, that's fatalism turned up to 11.
Absolutely. A direct line back to that Bahala Na idea. Ashburn actually noted this Filipino cultural value seemed especially strong among the BNG members he met in jail, just accepting whatever happens, however violent.
So self-preservation might have been the start, but it evolved.
Definitely. Okay, so the story then moves, right? It doesn't stay just in the Philippines.
No, it jumps to the U.S. into Filipino immigrant communities. Where specifically?
Mostly California, it seems. San Diego, LA, the Bay Area, Stockton, Sacramento, also Las Vegas, Nevada.
And how does it operate in the U.S.? Similar structure.
Kind of echoes the old ways. Older members, maybe in their 50s, often form the base, the organization.
The OGs providing stability.
See, something like that. Then the younger guys. They're often the ones involved in the violence, proving themselves.
Right, the muscle. For what kind of activities?
Drugs, weapons trafficking mainly, but also linked to murder, robbery, kidnapping in the U.S. Serious stuff.
There was that big incident in 1990, right? The taco stand fight.
Yeah, that was huge. Summer of 90, a dozen BNG members involved in a massive brawl. 2 people died, 5 injured.
And the legal fallout.
Massive. Something like 348 criminal counts filed, 29 counts of murder and attempted murder alone. It became one of California's biggest single murder cases. Really put BNG on the map in the U.S. in a bad way.
Okay, let's jump closer to the present. Say 2007 onwards. Still active?
Reports suggest yes, though many recent ones are back in the Philippines. There was a really nasty incident in 2007. 3 guys, Anderson, Jason R. Rodriguez, William K. Taylor, attacked a 15-year-old.
Why?
Apparently the kid insulted the gang on social media.
And the attack.
Brutal. Used a bolo knife, hacked the boy's arm almost completely off. There was talk it might have been an initiation thing.
Horrific. Charges were filed.
Malicious wounding, yes. It just shows that extreme violence may be linked back to that come what may, zero tolerance attitude.
Then came President Duterte's drug war in the Philippines, starting 2016. Did that impact the BNG?
They definitely became a target, yeah. Lots of reports came out about alleged members being killed in police ops or drug busts.
Like specific instances?
There was one big operation, August 17th, 2017, where an alleged BNG member was among many killed, and more isolated shootings, like a reported member killed in Manila, April 2019.
So lots of pressure from law enforcement.
Seems like it. And we also see continued arrests specifically for drug offenses during this time. It suggests drugs remained a core activity.
Any examples of those arrests?
Sure. The sources mention Nino Baque, caught in 2017 for selling meth. Crisanto Magudatu and Sampaloc in 2018, found with shabu and a gun.
Shabu, methamphetamine.
Right. Then in June 2020, Robert and Raymart Yabut were arrested in a buy-bust, actually alongside members of the Sputnik gang, another rival.
Still dealing with rivals even then.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And later in 2020, October, Gerald Augustin and May Junio arrested for possessing shabu. So yeah, the drug trade connection seems persistent.
It's always interesting how these groups seep into popular culture, too. Boy Golden got a movie, didn't he?
He did. Boy Golden, Shoot to Kill, back in 2013. Portraying his life.
And wasn't there an older one? About BNG versus Sputnik.
Yeah, 1995. Called Bahala Na versus Sputnik. Centered on a gang war. Shows they were notorious even back then.
And more recently, they've popped up in international shows.
Right. Discovery Channel's Inside the Gangster's Code and Netflix's Inside the World's Toughest Prisons.
The episode on the Philippines and the drug war.
That's the one. They even get referenced in fiction, like Netflix's The Lincoln Lawyer, Season 1.
Really? And even a cabaret show.
Apparently. Sarah Porkalob's Dragon Lady. It just shows the name, the reputation. It's out there in the wider culture.
So wrapping this all up, the BNG starts from this intense personal tragedy, this need for protection in a violent world.
Right. But it morphs. Becomes a criminal enterprise guided by this fatalistic Bahala Na philosophy.
And it spreads geographically from the Philippines to the U.S., still active, still involved in crime, decades later.
Yeah, across the Pacific, that come what may attitude feels like a constant thread, doesn't it?
It really does. Looking at all this info gives you a much deeper feel for how that cultural idea plays out in this specific, very tough context.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe something for listeners to chew on. Given how long the Bahala Na Gang has lasted, across continents and generations, what keeps groups like this going?
Oh, good question.
And that Bahala Na attitude. Is it the cause? Does it drive their actions? Or is it more of a consequence, a result of living that kind of violent, uncertain life?
Right. Where does individual choice end and societal forces begin? It's a really complex interplay, isn't it? Something to think about.